Today I had a bit of a change of plans, and that is why we're gonna talk about Baron Samedi, a closer look. This change of plans happened because when I was trying to look into the patch notes for some details, I realized that there was actually a new post where HiRez Ajax and HiRez Ponpon talk about more details on Baron Samedi now that he's soon to be released. I was originally planning to make a 3v3v3 video and mostly discuss why I don't think that mode worked out the way it did. Let me know down below if you still want to hear that or if you just rather not hear anything negative about it. There will be a poll here as well, so just choose whichever you want. If I should cover it or not, it's completely up to you guys. But we're gonna look into Baron Samedi here. For this, I'm gonna go through the post, and in the parts where I can add things, I will add them. Baron Samedi, a closer look. Who is Baron Samedi? Baron Samedi is the Lower of the Dead. Lower are the voodoo spirits that govern the mysterious forces of our world. Baron Samedi rules over death, and in many ways, he also rules over life. Our vision. Baron Samedi is a fascinating character. He is serious and important, while also being wild and rambunctious. These seemingly opposite features combine within Baron Samedi, resulting in a god unlike any other. Theme, death and life. Visuals, host of the party. Personality, casual and crass. Perspective, loved yet intimidating. You may have already seen the trailer for Baron Samedi, the animated cartoon, which I think looks really cool, and it also kind of reflects these visuals, the host of the party part, and how he's a bit different in his interactions at moments and then at other moments, and maybe that whole clip also includes some spoilers for his abilities. I would think so, at least. All those who follow voodoo know the Baron, and they know how serious his work is. They also know how insane his parties are. Death is a celebration, a great transition to a new world, and Baron Samedi will be there to greet you and make sure your spirit arrives safely, all while he smokes cigars and drinks rum. Everyone will eventually meet the Master of the Dead as he shepherds them into the afterlife. Baron's appearance is very specifically described. He's usually depicted wearing a nice suit and a top hat, and always has his rum and cigar. His face is either painted like a skull or is actually just a skull. Obscenity, debauchery and partying are his ways of life. And then we have a bit of a picture showing all the different skin concepts that existed for him, but you can see that even these are only changed in minor details, like the length of the coat or looking a bit more rugged or a bit more stylish. Sometimes he has shoes or sometimes he doesn't, so really there's not all too much change between how he looks as he is so well described. We wanted to stay true to his depiction, so the iterations here are more similar than many Smite gods. Sometimes we experiment heavily and try drastically different body types and themes, but for Baron Samedi we stayed more consistent. We honed in on the details to finalize Baron Samedi's concept art. And here we can see the final result of that. This is probably familiar to many of you already, as we already saw this a little bit earlier. And what we can also see here is some details on his hands, where he has different rings with different symbols that are all kind of related to him in one way or another. We found the right type of code and adorned it with symbols that reference his official voodoo symbol called VV or VV or whatever. We attached his rum to his hip and set a cigar in his hat so they would always be present. We also looked for ways to spice him up even further. To do this, we added a live snake on his staff and modeled a decorative coffin for him to use in animations and abilities. And here we can see the coffin with black varnished wood, so that looks pretty cool as well, very stylish. Two different versions here, one just without the decoration, the one with the flowers, and with the candles. Although he is heavily associated with death, he can also be a giver of life. Baron can cure people of even the most deadly illnesses or curses. We used both these themes to inspire his abilities. Baron casts his abilities as if he is the center stage on the dance floor. His animations are lively and exaggerated as he shows off his power and swagger. His unique gameplay elements are unique consumable for his team, Baron's Brew, which I think is a very interesting mechanic, that you can get a consumable in the whole team. I don't know if this means you have to pay for it, if you get it for free, but either way, it's gonna be very interesting. A long-term stacking debuff that he applies to enemies. We already know that this is Hysteria, which we have talked about in a recent data mining, which can be applied apparently with multiple abilities and has different effects with his abilities and amplifies with more stacks. A healing ability focused in combat. Also something not too surprising. There was a lot of speculation about him having a heal. The fact that it's in combat is also not surprising, knowing that out of combat healer is something that HiRez generally wants to avoid at this point. And very little mobility. HiRez Ajax already stated not too long ago that the next god would not have any dashes or similar things. So there you go, that's just explained here once again with a very little mobility. Baron's kit relies on consistently hitting enemies. He builds up stacks on each enemy individually. All of his abilities have increased effects on enemies with more stacks. Again, something that we already kind of figured out through the data mining. This playstyle works well with the utility mage item builds that include more cooldown reduction and some HP or protections. In that sense, we can say he is very much like our Push, who has those same things and seems to generally follow this theme in some ways, but not in others. Low mobility, the high health and CDR focus, but otherwise maybe a different character. Baron wants to stay in combat and keep landing shots while his power ramps up. Baron Samedi focuses on bringing the party to his allies while deriding his opponents and stripping them of their power for trying to kill his mood. The more influenced the enemies are, the more powerful these effects are, giving Baron Samedi a unique playstyle of seeking out targets that he has already hit to keep the party going. And of course, when it's time for the grand finale, Baron Samedi is sure to bring his enemies in for the fun. Baron Samedi will get the party started soon. The Battleground of the Gods is the perfect crossroads between life and death, where Baron Samedi will feel right at home. So what's interesting here is that apparently a lot of his abilities seem to be focused around staying in combat, and that makes me wonder if the debuff on enemies will actually run out relatively quickly, or if it lasts for a longer time. Because if it's about already having attacked enemies, then the question is how long ago can you have attacked them for the effects to keep working? It seems like stacks would run out eventually, as otherwise you would probably be able to build too much power. What's also very interesting is to note that he will bring his enemies in for the fun for the grand finale, which makes it sound like there's something Baron Samedi can do to maybe even multiple enemies during his ultimate. I don't know how exactly bringing them in is to be understood here. It could be either something like he has some sort of AoE pull to literally bring them into the party, or he has some way of controlling them to come towards them. We will see what exactly that's about, but it definitely sounds interesting. And that is it for Baron Samedi for now. We will learn more about him tomorrow when the patch notes come out, and then we will finally see his full kit in action. So until then, thank you guys very much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell, it really helps me out. And if you haven't checked out the Realm Royale video that I made about why you may like the game, even if you don't like Battle Royales, I would greatly appreciate if you check that out. If you don't like it, I absolutely understand that, but I would just highly appreciate if you gave it a look. See you for the next one tomorrow. DukeSloth, out.